Hey everybody, Chad Wesley Smith here. I'm joined today by,
Marisa Inda.
and we're going to be talking about IPF Worlds. We just got back a couple days ago from Calgary, Canada, and this was your fourth time competing at IPF Worlds?
Yeah, it's my fourth Worlds.
So I had two athletes up there, Joanne Ada, the Master of Disaster, in the 63 kilo Masters 1 division, and then Marisa was competing as a 52 kilo class lifter in the open class. So I just kind of want to give you a little bit of insight into the time up there and their performances, and how Marisa felt about her lifting. So we'll start off with Joanne. And last year about this time, Joanne was competing at Masters World Games for weightlifting, and then about last August or so, began competing in powerlifting again for sort of the second stint, or her second round of powerlifting in her career. Had a strong showing at nationals and just kind of kept building throughout the year. Lifted well at the Arnold, and this was her first time lifting at IPF Worlds, and she was the oldest competitor in the 63 kilo Masters 1 division, which goes from 40 to 49 years old, and Joe's 48 years old. That you'd never know it. I knew that there was a big age difference between Max and Joanne. They're 14 years age different. Juggernaut men are all about the cougars, and but I always thought that Max was 14 years older than Joanne, and I think when you're around them, you'd understand why. But what was the first time that you met Joanne?
So I remember meeting Joanne for the very first time. It was 2013 Nationals in Killeen, Texas. Good old Killeen.
Beautiful.
Yes, this is
Fantastic destination.
My first Nationals experience with USAPL, and I remember watching her walk in, and she had on this little short plaid skirt, big old like goth style boots, and crazy Joanne Aida hair.
And that's the classic Joanne look. That's what I call her, the punk rock Sailor Moon.
Yeah, and I remember just because we were all kind of lined up against the wall doing like check-in stuff, and I remember when she walked in, everybody just kind of turned and looked, and I felt like her and I were just
who's this bitch?
Why are you here? And I kind of feel like we were both kind of the odd man out because I had just done like not bodybuilding anymore, a physique competition, so I had like spray tan on and all of that stuff, and everyone was like, what are you doing, a physique competition? Why do you do bodybuilding? Why are you here? I just felt it was a very weird vibe. And then
then you guys went on to prove all the haters wrong
by bombing out.
By both bombing out.
So we both bombed out on squats. I will say, however, I made my bench attempts and my deadlift attempts while Joanne bombed out on bench as well.
So a pretty cool thing. You guys first met each other there at Nationals, both with bomb outs, and now both at Worlds.
Yeah.
So going into the meet, Joanne had pretty good training. We'd worked on making some adjustments, particularly to her squat training, because she had this long history with weightlifting. She had a real dive bomb style of squatting and would tend to get loose a little bit in the bottom and rely too much on rebound to get out of the hole, which, if you're catching a clean is great as it carries over to the more dynamic nature of weightlifting can be really useful. But as you get to those limit weights in powerlifting, it just creates such a fine edge to making a miss or making a lift or missing a lift. So we've done a lot of tempo squats, tempo pause squats, 4 or 5 count down, 1 second pause, trying to help her kind of raise the floor of her squat, so one, not squat so deep, and maintain better tension throughout the lift. And it definitely paid off at the meet. She squatted 142.5 kilos, 314 pounds, which was a 7.5 kilo meet PR. So really happy with Joanne there. In the bench press, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Easy opener, 77.5 kilos, and Joanne is regarded as the best bench presser of the Ada family. And then her second attempt, she just kind of forgot to use technique of any sort. She had a little problem, like, I think as a bit of a nervous tick, Joanne will sort of fidget with her wrist wraps and take them on and off several times as she's getting ready to go on the platform. and one of those times it sort of slipped and got loose, and the clock was running, and she just ended up rushing unnecessarily to get set, and thought that she had to go really fast to unrack the bar and everything. She actually had more time left than she realized, and ended up missing 82.5 kilos on the second, but came back and did it very, very easily on the third. So that matches her meet PR. As you see this 82.5 press on her third attempt, easy. She could have done way more, but those are the breaks of the day. In the deadlift, good opener at 162.5. We jumped to 172.5 from there, which moved really fast, but she just sort of lost her balance at the top. Maybe even forgot the down signal or something, but started to bring the bar down, and then stopped, brought it back up. So unfortunately got 3 reds there. We went ahead and jumped to 182.5 anyways, because the 172.5 moved well. 182.5, if she would have pulled it, would have put her in first for the time being. The other 2 lifters ended up, who were from England and Australia, ended up making their third deadlift, so she still would have ended up in third. But just it wasn't meant to be that day. But overall, proud of Jo. She did a good job. First world level meet as a power lifter. Very few people can say that they've done it at a high level for weightlifting and powerlifting. So great squat PR. A couple small mistakes here and there, but she's just going to keep getting stronger and very hard worker, and we can iron out some of those errors. Then we move on a couple more days to Marissa's lifting, and last year, 2017 Worlds, Marissa's the world champion, and we had a very nerve-wracking performance, a very nerve-wracking way of getting there, and you can go back and watch that video. But we came out of the squat in 2017 at a 13.5 kilo deficit, and a very, very small room for error going forward, and even really needing some help from the other lifters missing lifts, and us doing everything we could for her to go on and win in an extremely competitive field. 2017, without a doubt, the 52 kilo class was the most competitive women's class. This year that would certainly be the 63s, but some really strong lifters in it. And this year going in, I think it was really about Marissa and Joy Nanami from Great Britain, with Olga Golyubeva from Russia a little bit behind them, and then Ochoa from Ecuador, who is the equipped world champion and world record holder in the squat, kind of in the mix there as well. So first, I'm going to talk just briefly about your training cycle coming into the meet.
I felt like this was probably one of my better training cycles. I felt like I was finally coming back, getting healthy again from the sciatic issue. So I felt really confident going into it. I mean, towards the end in the peaking block, there was 2 squat sessions that didn't go particularly well. I had even missed one of my top bench sessions.
Yeah, so, that was a weird day.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was just not, it wasn't a good day. It wasn't definitely not good for confidence building, but overall, I felt like the training cycle went really well. I was hitting PRs in the squat that I hadn't hit before. I hadn't gone for reps over 300 ever. So I hit 308 for 3, 319 for 2 doubles, because we redid the doubles because the first were kind of iffy on depth. And I felt really confident in the squat. So I felt like the training block went well.
Yeah. And then the meet happened. Yeah, so went in with a confident plan. 140. The plan would have been 140, 147, 152. So 308, 325, 336 for a 2.5 kilo PR. And Marissa doesn't really have to cut weight. We just sort of had to monitor the last day or so. So it's eating a little bit less than normal, but not a real water manipulation or anything. So warm-ups were fine, opened at 308, and the way that things were laid out, I was slightly behind and off to the side of it, and I don't want to get too much into this here, but in my opinion, the judges, the side judges, are not sitting in a place that's a good place to judge the squat from. They were, essentially we basically had 3 front judges. There was a judge here and 2 judges there, and not really a good angle at the hip, in my opinion, to the point of when she stood up with 140, I'm crouched down, so my eyes are at hip height and, slightly behind, but to the side of her, that I didn't even bother looking at the lights. I was yelling across the platform to Susie, Gary, who's the head coach for the team, of like, yes, that was good. That looked good. Let's follow the plan and jump to 147. And as I'm saying that, she's kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, go up, 7.5, go up. And then someone finally said to me, like, she missed 2-1. And I look at, I was just confused. Like, to me, it was a good enough squat where I knew it was good without looking at the lights. But I guess the center ref and the slightly off-center ref on one side didn't agree. And, this is a problem. This is something that's happened before. In fact, it's...
Yeah. Every international meet.
Have you ever made an opening squat at Worlds?
No.
Maybe South Africa?
No, I don't think I made an opening squat there.
We gotta work on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the 308 felt good to me. It felt fast. I came up with it. I didn't even look at the lights. And then I was like, oh, crap, here we go again. 3-peat for, not making the opening. 4-peat, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it happened to me in Colleen as well.
Yeah.
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 It's not good for the confidence. Let's just put it that way. I mean, my style of squat, and I know this, is not generally liked in the international arena. They don't like the close stance. I'm very bent over and my chest is very close to my thighs. And I get from their perspective, it would definitely make it hard to tell from the front if I'm hitting depth.
Yeah. So and this is just like an observation watching.
Yeah.
I think even where you get someone like Blaine Sumner, who a bit bigger than Marissa, but it's a kind of similar style of a much more leaned over, that when there is a, benefit of the doubt goes to the lifter or a close call, that more upright torso position tends to be looked at more favorably. But, that was the situation. So I missed the first squat. And I think from there, it just, he took the second squat very, very deep. Still got a red from the front judge.
Yes.
Which maybe in a Beers with Chad, I'll be a bit more open with my analysis of the judging. But 2 whites from the side, red from the front on what was a deeper than necessary squat. And we'd gone up to 142 there.
Yeah, which was kind of scary for me because typically in the past when I miss my opener, we just repeat the opener. So when Chad was like, well, we're going up, I was like, oh. And I know that my first one felt fast, but I was a little bit, I don't know if I told you, I was a little bit concerned, like, oh my God, like I missed my opener and we're going up to 314.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned with your concerns there.
Okay.
Because even last year and Colleen, you missed your opener and I wanted to go up.
Yeah.
And Matt and Susie would say no.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing them down.
You're wearing them down because Susie went up, and I think maybe because she thought that it was fine too. And I moved fast, but I'm not going to say I wasn't without a little bit of concern because I already knew in my head I missed my opener, so now I have to go extra deep because I had the Oprah Winfrey of red lights, just doling them out to everybody.
Red lights for everybody.
In all fairness, she was giving everybody red lights. I think if we look at the Good Lift score sheet,
I'd say between and they don't show by judge
we can assume every red's probably from her.
Watching the meet, 2/3 to 3/4 of the squats got reds from the front.
Yeah.
I think which take that for what you will. So make 142.5 on the second, and then the technique, it was just not what we had practiced because it was this excessively deep squat, and missed 147 on the third. And you can see as she does it, you get down in the hole, and then to get that extra inch or inch and a half of depth that they were looking for to make it so convincingly deep.
Back.
Yeah, shifted back on the heels. So, the squats were a bit dramatic there. Joy had a situation where the spotter touched the the bar early, so she had a retake her second attempt on like 3 or 4 minutes rest, and made it. So, you know, kudos to her there. So coming out of the squat, Joy was at 150, Marissa at 142 and a half. My expectation going in was that Joy would squat 150 and that we would, you know, be at 152 and a half going 3 for 3, or at worst 147 and a half if we went 2 for 3. So, you know, that it was going to be plus or minus 2.5 kilos, but we ended up down 7.5. And at that point I knew like would probably need a little bit of help going forward, and that we couldn't miss anymore, certainly. So bench press went great. 90, 95, 97 and a half, 215. So matched her PR there. All of them went really well. Yeah, if you remember back to the Arnold, Marissa had benched 97 and a half there, which was a 2.5 kilo PR and a 2 kilo new American record. And as soon as she started to press the bar at the Arnold, the bar went towards her feet. And then I was very surprised, and you can see the facial expression in the clip, that she was able to save it for a very, very tough 97 and a half. Here it was smooth. It was a great bench, and we'll be looking forward to pushing towards 100 kilos coming up at nationals. And Joy went 80, 82 and a half, 85. So we made up beat her by 12 and a half kilos in the bench press, which that was the expectation, was 10 to 12 kilos ahead there. So now we ended up plus 5 kilos going into the deadlift against the deadlift world record holder in two different weight classes. So just a fairly typical plan in the deadlift. Opened at 170 kilos. Marissa's PR is 187.5. We decided to take a slightly smaller jump, 170 to 180 for the second, knowing that the third deadlift was going to be really all that mattered. The first two were just setting her up. So rather than 182 and a half or 185, which I think we did 185 as the second maybe at the Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a typical second would be 182 and a half or 185, but only went to 180 here to conserve a little bit of energy, look good. And Joy, I thought, had her second 192 and a half world record. Looked tough. It was a fairly hard deadlift for her, and I felt pretty confident that with putting Marissa, or having Marissa take 190 as the third, would force Joy into a deadlift that she couldn't make, and she proved us wrong there. That Marissa had a huge fight with 190 kilos, really great effort, not quite able to lock it out. So it ended up not mattering either way. But Joy did go and make 195.5 on her third attempt. But talk about your 190 attempt there.
Yeah. So of course it always comes down to the deadlift. I remember you're sitting there and you're like, well, if you make this, you win. Of course, at the time we're hoping Joy misses her third, but I just walked out there. I tried to hype myself up. This is a weight I've never attempted before. Have I attempted 419 in the meet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
oh
Arnold.
yeah, at the Arnold, I attempted it on my third, and it did not even budge off the floor.
I think we might have attempted 425 at the Arnold.
Oh, nevertheless.
But that was like a more.
Yeah.
We're here to try and win, so let's give it a shot. Yeah, we're always there to try and win.
We're always there to try and win. Yeah. So I mean, it came up off of the floor surprisingly, and just got to right over my knee, and I was so rounded that I just could not recover the lift. And I was trying with all my might. I kept thinking hips forward, squeeze the glutes, and it's so frustrating because it just wasn't there.
Yeah, and I've been in a similar kind of feeling where maybe you're only 2 inches away from finishing the lift.
Yeah, but it feels like
you might as well be 2 miles away from finishing it. Yeah, so couldn't quite pull it off, and it's
Yeah, it's disappointing more than anything, because I feel like, again, I had a great training block, needed my squats, and I feel like if I do what I'm capable of, she can't beat me.
No, I don't think there's anyone in the world at 52 kilos and under the IPF rules who can, if you lift your best, can beat you.
Yeah. And she just had a great day, and she went
Yeah.
she went 8 for 8
Yeah.
because she passed on her third squat.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess in some sense it's comforting to know I can still go 6 for 9 and still pull off second and not have a great day. So
Yeah, and that's why they go and have the meet. If it was just based off of expectations
Yeah.
or gym numbers or something, then everyone could just send theirs in on Instagram, and that would be that. And congrats to Joy and her coaches on a good day.
Yeah.
But 2019, we'll be back. Hopefully, she's still at 52, and we can have another go around there. So I'm still proud of you.
thanks, babe.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, that last deadlift, that was tough. That was a lot of heart
Yeah.
in that one. It would not have been, if you would have made it, it wouldn't have been as ugly as the first American record deadlift you did.
True.
That one was
Yeah.
that one was rough.
Yeah, I mean, when they're that ugly and that slow, I'm always just thankful to walk away
Yeah.
and not have any lingering issues, because most importantly, you want to walk away healthy so that you can come back to the table, figure out what you need to work on and improve on, and go from there. Last year after Belarus, just dealing with all the sciatic stuff just made going back to training a lot more complicated and frustrating. So
Yeah.
thankful to be healthy.
Yep. So that was 2018 IPF Classic Worlds for Marissa and for Joanne from their coach's perspective. So if you're interested in online coaching, you can visit juggernautcoaching.com and check out all our offerings there. Otherwise, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a like, share it with your friends, and thanks for watching.